The dress at the centre of this film is part of the Inspiring Heritage exhibition currently at Wentworth Woodhouse, which also includes a modern take on Georgian costume by fashion students at Rotherham College. This film is in 2 separate parts, and at the end of part 2, the dress will be worn to do a little Baroque-style dance in the wonderful Marble Saloon at the house. I'm Deborah, part of the fabulous volunteer filmmaking group at Wentworth Woodhouse, known as the Digital Team, which makes a wide range of videos for our YouTube channel. Coming from a career in dance and theatre, I've always been interested in costume. And more recently, delving into all things 18th century, I set myself a challenge to make an 18th century outfit. While this isn't a step-by-step film on how to make a Georgian dress, as there's loads of great ones out there already, we'll look at points in the journey of its making, as well as explore some of the historical threads, so to speak, that it embodies. Starting with the fabric, it was a pair of old curtains found 12 years ago in a rainy French flea market. At the time, I thought it was just a nice vintage jacquard dating from the mid-20th century, but would now say that it also recalls the kind of floral silk brocade woven in Lyon, France or Spitalfields, London during the mid-18th century. However, though found in France, one might say the influences behind my fabric design are more English than French. Silk fabrics woven in London were often inspired by botanical engravings of actual plants, rather than the more generic floral effusions typical of French brocades. One of the most celebrated silk designers in mid-18th century England was Anna Maria Garthwaite. Hailing from Yorkshire, she eventually found her way to Spitalfields and is known to have studied flowers in the gardens of collectors who brought plants from all over the world, such as might well have existed at Wentworth. But a professional career woman like Garthwaite was unusual in a time when most middle-class and aristocratic ladies were expected to confine their creative expression mostly to endless amounts of needlework. This sketch after a painting of Lady Rockingham shows her at her embroidery hoop. In the Spectator magazine of 1714, the, of course, male writer tells us, "What a delightful entertainment must it be to the fair sex, whom their native modesty and the tenderness of men towards them exempts from public business, to pass their hours in imitating fruits and flowers, and transplanting all the beauties of nature into their own dress." And with their wearable gardens, ladies reflected the 18th century passion for all things floral, not only in actual gardens, but everywhere, in decor, inside and out, such as abounds at Wentworth. So, on to the making. First I had to create the underpinnings, as they're called, made up of linen shift, underpetticoat, and complicated structures in the form of stays and panniers, without which the dress would look rather like a dressing gown. The stays especially were pretty mind-boggling. I adapted mine from a couple of patterns found online, including one from 1776, only after a great deal of head-scratching. Oh my God. Watching YouTube videos and many, many hours, were the stays finally completed. By then, I felt I could make just about anything. According to a young lady's account book from 1779, the cost of just mending Mamma's stays was double that of having a whole new dress made, and I'm not surprised. After this, the panniers, French for baskets, were a breeze, and much better than some I'd made for Beatrice, a repro period doll to amuse myself during long COVID lockdowns. Young girls in the 18th century also used dolls to practice dressmaking, and dressmakers used them to display their designs. Not everyone was a fan of the wide skirts, panniers, or side hoops created. In a letter to the editor of the Ladies' Magazine, or Entertaining Companion for the Fair Sex, of 1782, a father bewails the fact that he and his 4 fashion victim daughters no longer fit in his previously perfectly adequate house, and that "it is impossible for a person to walk the streets without being frequently turned off the pavement and in danger of being run over by coaches." He signs his letter, "A photo hoops." However, in daily life, at least he would have been spared the really, really wide skirts worn at court, such as the Rockingham mantua. Made for Wentworth's second Lady Rockingham, it is now considered a national treasure and housed at London's Kensington Palace, where it will be part of a major exhibition later in 2023. Women in these dresses did look a bit half human, half sofa. Anyway, now that I had all the required underpinnings, I could finally get on to making the dress, which you'll see in part 2. Join me there.